side by side, this is West Coast culture. Side by side, in the East Coast culture, hip hop, that same funk music was being. They used to stab people for money. They used to just shoot because they did not like someone looking at them in a certain way.
Okay.
Maybe if you are just wearing certain shoes, they just go shoot you and just take your shoes.
They don't like the shoe. They like the shoes.
They like the shoe.
Welcome to the SlowCooked Podcast. Today's guest is a dancer. He's a hip hop freestyle dancer. He has his crew, Crafts of Kommotion, which is the oldest hip hop dancing crew based out of Calcutta. They are doing it since the last 10-11 years, and they have represented India outside the country, in Malaysia and in Korea. So I think our guest here is very, very exciting and has a lot of amazing stories to tell. Get yourselves ready, get some snacks, and enjoy the podcast. Starting in 4, 3, 2, 1. Follow any particular podcast in general?
In general, I've seen Drinks with Jam. That is the only thing I see because bunch
Is
of
it Indian?
It's not Indian.
Okay.
It's hosted by this rapper and
Drinks with Jam. They do shots or what? in the
yeah, they do
podcast?
like a bunch of
Crazy
stuff on the table,
Yeah.
and like everybody comes for it. Like starting from
Comedians.
comedians, like musicians,
Hmm.
Kanye, like starting from Kanye to
Oh, wow.
everybody. Like it's the
Okay.
the rapper who hosts it. He was a very prominent guy in the 90s. So right now,
Is he a black dude?
all of them are black. But yeah.
Okay.
I think there's two people. I don't know one. The guy who I know, he is
A black dude. Alright. Cool, I'll try that one. You can watch Andrew Schumach's. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. It's super offensive for some people, and it's too good. So I started watching podcast. Obviously, I started introduced to it by Joe Rogan's because I watch a lot of MMA.
okay.
And from there I got to know of Joe Rogan, and then from there I started watching his podcast, and one time I thought, okay, I'll start
Why
one
not?
of my own. So that's how I kind
Why
of
not?
thought, yeah.
Yeah, but I have an elder brother. I think he watches a lot of podcasts.
Yeah.
He comes and tells me there's this basketball
Yeah.
star dude who does a very famous podcast. And
I think podcasts is also in India, it's really becoming very, very mainstream, but the point is, podcast, it is streamlined in a way of interviews. So people need to
Yeah.
understand a podcast is not an interview. It's not like I'm not going to talk about the next movie or the next game that you have or nothing like that. You will just talk to me about your experiences, and
Absolutely.
people just touch base on smaller things like finance or spirituality or things like that, but it is not what it is. But however, let's talk about you. How's it going? You had classes today?
yeah, classes, very hot weather. In
Very hot
Kolkata.
weather, yeah. The students are showing up for the regular classes.
I mean, the ones who are showing up, they really like to do the dance.
Mhm.
That's why they are really much committed.
Hmm.
But obviously, there are many people who come from a lot of places. Especially there are some people who come from north, as far as Barrackpur or Kolkata.
Alright. And where is your setup?
My setup is in South Kolkata.
They're coming all the way from Barrackpur. Alright.
One guy
It's
comes from
superb.
Durgapur.
It's very passionate, yeah. And how old are these people?
They are in their
Teens.
in their mid-20s.
Mid-20? Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Look at me. I'm coming 20 minutes late on my own podcast. No, yeah, fantastic, great. So tell us about your style. I mean, I know nothing about dance, right? I
Okay.
know nothing. My sister used to do Odyssey, which is clearly something you don't do.
Not
Tell us
even
about
close.
your style. Yeah, tell us about your style.
So,
Tell us about the different styles that you know, and maybe if there's some history that is attached to it.
Wow, that's a wide question. So firstly, the style that I do, it's called hip hop freestyle dancing, and it basically started from, approximately you can say in the late 80s
Okay.
when the whole rap scene started emerging and
Yes.
people started going into newer stuff. So since then the style has basically it has blown into a wider range of things. African Americans basically I wouldn't just say African Americans, people in America, they are all about what is hip, what is new.
And they try to incorporate. They're welcoming towards new stuff. Right?
They just go crazy. They want a party and they just go crazy, making new stuff and creating new genres of music and dance and everything. Crazy.
Yeah.
So what happens, like with my style, is I kind of get a wider spectrum to dive into. Like I don't have to like just stick to one thing, and I can mold that, change that, and
incorporate whichever style you want to put it. Yeah. Whatever the music or the beat demands at the point. Okay.
So that is something that
is
essentially
freestyling is. Okay.
Freestyle. But I have to do it on that. I have my roots of the dance, which is the hip hop. And so on that vibe and on that you can say feeling, I take that dance forward, and that is why it is called hip hop freestyle.
So hip hop, b-boying, locking and popping, are these all essentially the same clusters of different clusters of the same roof, or how is it like? So if say for example I am b-boying, right, and somebody comes and tells me that, bro, I dance hip hop. So are we both doing the same thing, or how is it?
If you are a b-boy, then you are doing something that has been created before. So when
b-boy is before hip hop.
Hip hop freestyle dancing.
Hip hop freestyle.
So this is like So if I actually tell you about it, I've got to start from the beginning.
Would love to know. We have a lot of time.
The beginning starts from basically funk music.
Okay.
And
what exactly is funk music?
Funk music is basically that was created by African Americans from, you can say, a mixture of jazz and
Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, these people, they are much later or what? Or is it
they are way later.
Okay.
I'm talking about the 60s right now. So James Brown started something, a movement. James Brown is a very famous artist. He's like,
I haven't heard of him. I'll check him out on Spotify.
Please do.
He's there, yeah.
James Brown is one of those artists who, like, because of whom other artists became big.
Okay.
So if you see right now, starting from Michael Jackson, Bruno Mars, everybody copies James Brown.
Okay.
So their whole style got big, like generated because of James Brown.
Acha, he's the OG.
He is called the Godfather.
He's the maker of OGs, basically.
He's the maker of OGs.
Okay.
He's called the Godfather of soul
Interesting.
music. And so he started this whole genre of music called funk.
Okay.
And it is amazing. Like back then, it was the shit.
Okay.
It was the shit. And when that music started, there was already something that was going on in their culture, which I think from an outsider, I can only say from my perspective, it's what they like to do is just party dancing.
Okay.
They just want to go, it's like a social dance. They just go to parties, move away how the beat is coming.
They just have a good time. They just vibe with the music.
Just vibe with the music, and they just create some stuff.
Okay.
And that stuff, someone else takes it and creates something more, and then
just keep adding on to that thing.
They just keep evolving.
All right.
So from there, basically, the first style of dance that we like to call got evolved, got created was the locking.
Locking, alright, that is the history. Interesting, I never knew this.
So the locking and the popping dance style got created first in the 60s.
In the 60s, alright.
Side by side, this is West Coast culture. Side by side, in the East Coast culture, hip hop, that same funk music was being, taken and molded, and it was given a very new perspective by the DJs when they came into being.
Okay.
So the DJs, what
and this is which era? This is again in the 60s or?
This is around early 70s.
Early 70s, okay.
And what they did was they did the first thing. The guy who's credited for this is called DJ Kool Herc. But there are also other DJs also, I'm sure, which I might not know, who did the same thing. Actually, not me. Probably anybody does not know.
Fair enough.
Only people from that era, probably they'll know.
Sure.
So DJ Kool Herc is kind of credited to create something which is called sampling, basically.
Sampling, alright.
He was the first guy who took two records and then he played one thing and then he just shifted
basically
to another
how
thing.
mixing started.
So he played one
track and then mixed it up in another.
And then he just kept things on loop.
Alright.
And then in every song in that era, they had a one point where it was just instrumental, so which they used to call the break.
The break. Alright.
So that's when the break came, that's when the dancers got crazy.
Okay.
And one of those people from those dancers, they just went down and they just stayed down. So that is how breaking started. Because their body just broke with the music.
That's awesome. That's so interesting to know. Alright.
And after that came a lot of other styles in between. There was a club culture also where whacking and house, all these started. Okay, I'm not really.
What is house exactly? I see people doing a lot of stuff with their feet. So
Yeah. So house music has a so basically all of these styles have different cultures of their own. Like popping and locking are from the funk culture.
Okay.
I mean, everything is from the funk culture, but popping and locking are still continuing on that basis.
Okay.
Like on that funk music, the funk get up, the funk where they actually wear their clothes, like how they
baggy clothes and all.
Not exactly, no.
Okay.
The clothes that these dancers wear, these people wear, are very different. They incorporate a lot of, you can say, 70s style, a bit more of 70s style.
And what exactly is the clothing like?
It's basically like having like just blasting into fashion thing that like could be anything. Like there are people who like wear leopard skin shirts and
alright.
blue pants, and they're
This is probably the kind of clothes you wouldn't see people normally going on office.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So this is something that because in that era people were that crazy. They just
and it was also something new. So people who would try that out, they had to come out as different, right?
Yeah.
So that was also maybe a part of it.
So like fashion in hip hop is a huge thing, and fashion industry in hip hop, like this is not hip hop. This is still a different. You can say a different culture altogether.
Yeah.
So hip hop culture is different.
Yes.
Hip hop culture is different. House culture is different, and this popping and locking culture is very different.
But they all identify as
Street style dancing.
Street style.
So the term that we use is street style dancing. So that because most of these dance forms did not actually got created in a studio.
In a studio or in a
dance studio. Mainly it was in the parties and on the blocks. And over there the parties were basically on the road. They used to actually have
the ghettos basically. Yeah.
I mean, probably maybe the ghettos. I'm not really sure about that, but yeah, like it is. You can say that the whole party thing happened on parks.
Okay.
So the whole dance style got created on parks or like sideways somewhere.
Interesting.
So that's how the movements are. That's why when they say street style dancers, it doesn't really mean like they actually danced on the street, but yeah, it was basically made on the street.
It was made on the streets. Like you were saying, it's very easy. There's no conventional steps. People just enjoying vibing with the music and creating their own flow.
Creating their flow. Yeah.
Superb.
And that's how
it became so huge. Even it's practiced to this date. People are traveling all over the city and come to you to.
I mean, the craziest thing that I've heard, like I have met one of the OGs who are like you can say they kind of they spread the popping style everywhere in the world. So when they came and they were like when they actually saw on TV that there are dancers in India doing popping, they were like they couldn't believe.
Why?
Because they were like their knowledge, they knew that since American culture was so popular, it got to Japan very early, it got to Korea very early, it got to even other countries in Europe also very early. But they never thought it'll have
an influence on India,
and that's big influence on India. And like there are people, we would know everything about them, and we would know about.
When did this happen? I mean, when was this incident taking place?
This was back in 2015.
Okay, pretty decent.
I mean, yeah, kind of. it will be 10 years.
Yeah.
Like it's around 7-8 years back.
Awesome. And you were saying about hip hop and fashion. So I think rappers, DJs, dancers, they're so amazingly dressed all the time. I mean, the coolest sneakers I see them wearing, and the coolest of the threads they are wearing. So is it a part of the culture as well? Wearing cool
Absolutely,
sneakers,
yeah.
doing your hair good, doing your.
It's basically, it totally depends from person to person.
Mhm.
Like personally, me, I'm not that kind of a guy like who wants to all the time dress, like, all the time be drip and everything. I just wanna have a good time, like be comfortable,
yeah.
be comfortable. But I have my friends who are like, they are drip crazy. They just want to be like swag. They want to have that attitude anywhere they go. So yeah, for them, dressing good, dressing in a certain way was a thing. For me, like when I was a kid, I always used to wear baggy clothes because I am from that era where I'm from the MTV era.
Okay.
Okay, like when I was a kid, if I switch on my TV, I could see MTV VH1 happening in front of me. So back then it was like that. Like I used to listen to like Eminem, 50 Cent, and
so that's
Ludacris.
pretty much inside of your DNA, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Right.
when I was a kid, that is what was happening in front of me. Like Linkin Park was like Rose ka music.
You were in school back then or what?
Yeah, I was in school obviously. I was like in class 4, 5.
Okay.
So-
Got it.
So back in 2005, 6, I was probably 10, 11 years old.
Same. I was also in 2004 and 5. I think I was in class 5th-ish. So pretty much
Yes,
5th or 6th, yeah.
So
So yes, I was also in that era, and I think we saw it all. We saw it not just if I'm just taking aside music and art and hip hop. I think we started from landlines, and now we are in smartphones. So we saw it all.
Yeah.
Talking to sneaking the landline phone to talk to our girlfriends and friends, and now we have our own phones. So we did it all, right? So I think we do say it quite rightly that we are the cool kids. No, but yeah. So how did you start dancing? How and when? When did that happen?
I don't really know when did I start dancing. I think like as my mom tells me, like the first thing that she saw me doing was probably imitate Salman Khan in that Oh Jane Jana. So that is, I was probably 6 or 7 years old, and I just took off my t-shirt. I was like someone told me like, yeah, dance, and I'm like, okay, I'll dance. I wore my t-shirt and started dancing.
Okay.
So that is what I remember my mom telling me. So from then, I guess when I was a kid, I used to copy Hrithik Roshan, Michael Jackson, Ganesh Hegde.
All by yourself.
All by myself.
Are you trained? Have you ever been formally trained, or it is just self-taught?
I will not say that I've not been formally trained because I've attended a lot of workshops, but I've never had a teacher over me.
Okay.
Like my students having me, I never had someone over me like that.
Okay.
So from the people from my...
I think working at workshops is also, you volunteer, you go somewhere, you do a session or do your workshop and you come back. That is also part of the self-learning process itself, right?
It is kind of, yeah. I mean,
you
in
pay
2
for-
hours, whatever, like there are like 100 kids, whatever he says, whatever you soak in, you take it, and then...
And you're good to go.
And yeah, I mean, if you remember stuff, then it's good. Like, that's what happened back then. Like, since the very few dancers actually could get people from outside, and lesser people could actually go and attend. Because, I mean, back then, I hardly had money on me.
Of course, yeah. Of course. Crazy.
I had to do like when I was in, like, when I just crossed my class 12, I remember in 2011, I did my 12th, and I took some money from my father and I went for my first jam in 2011. That was in Mumbai. And I met a bunch of people. I got to learn a lot from other people. There was this very famous dancer who's still dancing right now. His name is Prashanjit Kundu.
Okay.
And
Not heard of him.
he basically, I mean, he's such a nice person. He taught us for free. He was like, just come down.
So kind of him, yeah.
Yeah. And he's like one of those amazing dancers who used to live in US his whole life. He did his whole career, like all the commercial thing that he has done. He's danced for a lot of big artists, and then he came back down to India because he wanted to spread more.
Wow, super.
And like I had the opportunity to learn from him, and then after that, it just never stopped.
So okay, so you were back in school. You were watching VH1 and MTV, and then you were copying steps from Hrithik Roshan, and then one fine day you thought you got that calling that okay, maybe I should stick to doing it. Maybe I'm going to do it better. Like, what is the story?
I don't know.
Is there a dramatic story to it,
Actually, it
or
probably
it just
isn't.
went on happening organically? It just
I just kept.
did you do shows and gigs at school or at school?
Yeah.
Okay. So how did that happen? You volunteered that, okay, let me just try out.
I have no idea. Basically, it just people just started saying like, "Oh, you dance, let's go."
And
I
you
was
just
like,
went
yeah,
in,
let's
danced
go.
and came out.
Yeah.
Did you compete in school and all?
Yeah, I mean, just once or twice maybe.
How did it go for you?
It was horrifying.
No.
I hardly knew stuff back then. But
Hmm.
then, I mean, for me, it was an amazing learning process because
Hmm.
the guy, because one of those bad gigs that I had from my school, I got to see this one amazing dude
Hmm.
who was elder to me, who was also still in school. And then we called him to choreograph for us for one of the.
He was ready to help?
Yeah, he was ready to help.
Yeah, I know.
And then-
this happens, when you kind of get into an art form, it can be a combat sport, it can be music and anything, and you see somebody who's doing really well. You guys compete. That guy overpowers you. He finishes you, right?
Yeah.
Technically, if he does that. But after the competition, you just chill with a beer and you tell him, bro, just help me out now. I'll be more than happy to help someone out. Because it is just love for the art. So,
Absolutely. And especially when it comes to battles and all, it is like if you actually concede, then you have to respect the guy who
yeah, for
beat you.
sure.
You have to respect him because it wasn't like you. I mean, he did not win fair and square. He did win fair and square. You conceded, and you have to respect him.
Hmm.
So, like for me, it happened like the same thing in the same way, kind of like when I saw him, I was like, shit, like I've got to learn from this guy, and we called him like through people. We were like, let's connect with this guy. We called him. He was the first guy to teach me, you can say bits and pieces of hip hop, like popping.
This was happening, you in which standard?
I was in 8, 9, I guess.
So technically, this was your first formal introduction under somebody's guidance,
Yeah.
unofficially, that
Yeah,
you were training, alright. And from then, you just kept on practicing.
Yeah.
your own.
From then, I kept on practicing. Thankfully, that guy had a crew, so I joined his crew.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And
Then I think we learned exponentially, right? From
I mean, back then I was also a crazy. You can say I was like a crazy music nerd. So like I used
What
to
kind of music did you hear?
everything. Like I said, I had an elder brother, and because of him, I got exposed to hell lot of music. Like starting from like classical jazz and
Metal, yeah.
everything.
See, if you're Bengali and if you're of that era, you had to listen to metal at some point in your life, right? So
You have people
I
who
was
say-
waiting for you to tell me metal. So yeah, no, same here. I mean, so it's like that.
Like I had many of my friends and you can say my elder brothers, friends and all who were in bands, who are still in
Of
bands.
course, yeah, of course. So this is I think this should go out to the listeners that in Calcutta we have this culture pretty much there with us from a very long time. I have an elder sister who's almost 10 years elder to me. From her and with her friends, I've been seeing this that our parents, or it's very much in us that we choose, and our parents, they advise us to choose any particular art form. It can be painting, the girls going for dance, the guys maybe learning an instrument. You learn how to sing, and we do it pretty seriously, right?
I mean,
we have
you telling me this, I just got reminded me of certain things.
like what?
Like-
If it's okay to share. Yeah.
Like when you said about parents,
Yeah.
and when you make your parents listen to metal music, they're like, okay, what are you doing?
What is that music?
What are you doing? And especially, I remember this. Back then, I got in between all these hip hop things and happening, I got very much hooked into metal music because of my elder brothers and all. So
So was he doing music or he was just
I mean, we used to,
listening?
I mean, we were also like I also played an instrument. So I loved basically before hip hop I started listening to metal music.
Okay.
And it happened even my father listens to like Dire Straits and stuff.
Pink Floyd and stuff.
Yeah, I'm not maybe not Pink Floyd, but he's from the 80s era. So he's like, yeah, I've heard Dire Straits, I've heard Eric Clapton, I've heard. Then he started going to George Michael said, I was like, no, let's not go there. George Michael is something I will not. I like him, but back then I was like, George Michael, who George Michael? I don't want George Michael. So when it came to music, I still remember I made my mom listen to Cradle of Filth.
God.
And she was like,
how could you?
What is happening? Because I had this whole era where me and
but you got obsessed with it basically. You wanted all of your loved ones to know it or listen to it, right?
So I had this whole era where I'm top to bottom dressed in black, have a black nail polish, have emo hairstyle like this. I'm like going around, roaming around like that on the street.
This was when you were in college, what?
This was in school.
This was in school, okay.
But like, like in, you can say class 8, 9, when I actually also got introduced to hip hop.
Okay.
So there are a bunch of my friends who were into hip hop.
Bunch of your friends who were rolling a J and listening to metal, right? So, cool. I mean,
rolling a J started way later. We were not that.
We're just listening to music.
Yeah, just listening to music.
Cool. Great, awesome. And then you ended with your school, you asked your dad for some money and you went to Mumbai, right?
Yeah.
What was that? What was happening in Mumbai at that point and how did you come to know?
Basically, back then, very few events happened. So there was this very famous event. We also knew about it. It was called To The Culture.
Okay.
To The Culture still has events right now.
Okay.
And they hosted there and they got people from Germany.
Okay.
But
it was a hip hop event?
It was a hip hop event, but it was mainly known for breaking. It was never known for popping. So me and one of my friends, we were like, why not let's just go and check it out, because we knew that in Kolkata we are beating people. Let's see what happens if we go to
By that time you guys were good. You guys were killing it.
Not really.
Okay.
The scene was less. There were very less people.
Less people.
But there were a lot of people doing it. But there were a lot of people there weren't a lot of people who were doing it right.
Okay.
And some of our
same
friends,
with podcasting. Anyway. Yeah.
So like, you can say we were the first people, or you can say we were the first generation of dancers who actually learned it right, and then we shared it. We were not teaching back then, but obviously they've
posting it online, maybe like that. That is also a way of sharing.
I mean, posting it online. Like, I was very bad with technology, so I'm still bad. Like, if you see my Instagram, I'm like hardly followers. I hardly post. I'm very, I don't know,
technologically challenged. My Instagram is horrible. So you were telling me the other day when I was talking to you about coming to the show and all. So you were telling me, dude, do I know you? Dude, how do I know you? I wanted to tell you that, bro, let's connect, no. But I was pretty unsure because my Instagram is horrible. Had you seen my Instagram, definitely this episode would not have happened. So yeah, it's like that. I mean, I'm too casual. I don't think too much before clicking a picture. If I feel like clicking a picture, I just click it and post it. So or maybe I don't. For months and months, I don't post a single picture.
Yeah, it's happened with me also. Like, if you see my Instagram profile, it is just because I want to promote my dance.
Yeah, of course.
That is it.
Yeah. Maybe now I'll be more frequent, or maybe I'll create a new handle, but I don't know. That is another thing to think of. Oh God.
That's the whole thing happening right now.
Yeah. Anyway, so you were in Mumbai. People from Germany are there, and okay.
So there I got this culture shock, like, shit, what's happening in Mumbai? Like, there are so many dances, there are so many poppers, there are so many different forms of dancing is going on around. It's going around, and I'm like, I'm not, like, I knew about it, but I never got to connect with these kind of people. So when
these kind of people were doing it full time and really doing it, like killing it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're doing it full time,
but they were good.
But they were good, yeah.
Better than what you were seeing and all.
Yeah, they were better than me.
Okay.
So I lost. I was like, what's happening? How could I lose?
It was a competition or what?
It was a battle.
Okay.
These are all battles.
Okay. You'll tell me what battles are like. Let's first complete this story. Okay.
So, and when me and my friend were like, shit, dude, like, we lost, like, we were in Kolkata. What happened right now?
How many of you went? Only two
Just
of you?
me, one
Okay. You were representing which crew back then?
I was in my present crew, CK.
Okay.
So
Crafts of Kommotion. Crafts of Kommotion. Shout out. Alright.
So basically, before CK and I was in two other crews, different crews, but I shifted so fast that because nobody could match that kind of practice level or the mentality that I had back then. Like, I've got to practice, I've got to be better, I've got to beat everybody. And people who actually were there, who were like, my mentality matches with them, they were my rivals. So that is why I had the respect, because I was a different
I
crew.
didn't understand this part. So, just the rivalry part. Can you come on?
I was in a different crew, and my present crew that I'm with, Siken, they used to practice in the same place I used to practice.
With the previous crew, okay.
No, just me alone.
Okay.
And some of my seniors from my school, they used to practice with them. But they used to see me every day. Like, we were in the same.
You were doing it all alone, all by yourself.
I was doing it all alone. They were like, "Why is this guy alone?" And then I got to know them. I got to chill with them. So I used to practice with them. And actually they used to practice with me. And
small flex.
And after that, they were like, "Dude, you are already practicing with us. Why don't you just join us?" I was like, "Yeah, probably if things go good, I probably will." And eventually, there was this battle that happened, and after that, they were like, just say it, right? Are you coming or not? I was like, okay, let's just do this, man. Let's just get into it, and we just stuck by each other.
Wow, awesome, cute. Okay, so you were in Mumbai. People overpowered you, and then what happened?
Well, we lost. That's when we met this dude, Kundu sir. And I was like, he was like, if you want to learn, just come down. And we just.
Where was he? He was in Mumbai?
He was in Mumbai. He used to live in Mumbai back then.
Mm.
And we were like, okay, we'll just come down. And we just went. And back then I was doing popping. My foundational dance style that I started with was popping. And I competed that till 2016.
Okay.
After that, I kind of switched my style to hip hop completely. So I went there and I learned house and hip hop over there from him.
Okay.
So that is where my interest grew. Like, okay, this style is something like it's not like something that I will not get. Like, sometimes you just have that, like I don't have the.
So freestyle, like you're a freestyle dancer, right? So is it correct if I say that you have to know bits and parts of every other dance form, maybe some of it, so that you can incorporate whichever.
It actually totally depends on your mindset.
Okay.
I believe. Like, if you have that mindset that you can create something from that particular style, if that is how you want to move, then you will do that. If, like, for me, I wanted to move in a certain way so that my style can incorporate both of these things. So that is why I learned a lot of things.
Okay.
And since my crew is also an all-style crew, so we this is something that we do, and we are very proud, and you can say we are very known also because of that. Most of our crewmates have different styles.
Okay.
And since we all have different styles, when we do competitions or when we perform like on showcase and all, we have to know each other's style. Because we have to
complement each other.
We have to compete. We have to when we do choreography, we have to do it together. So for us, for me, I had to learn breaking. I had to learn locking. I had to learn
as in learn exhaustively, or
like learn how much you want.
How much you want.
How much I want.
Is
yeah. But then you never stop once you start. So once you get into it, you have to you have to give the look. For that, you have to learn a certain level, or else you just won't be able to pull it off. So because of that, that still happens in our crew. Like, we have to
teach each other, learn from each other, grow yourselves.
If you suppose if we took a person who is just a popper, but then if you have to dance with us, you have to do all styles. You have to do it.
When you say we take a person in, is that a formal interview, or does that person share his videos? How do you
actually? It happens in a lot of ways. Sometimes we hold auditions where they will we would want we send invites and we whoever we like or whoever wants to join us can come, pick our choreography, and then after that you have to show do freestyle.
Hmm.
So you got to battle it out because that is where we are also at. We do choreography and we battle.
Okay, okay.
So
I'll know what battle is definitely. But okay, you're learning from Prasenjit at this point, and then what? Then you come back to Calcutta.
yeah, I learned from him. After I came back to Calcutta, my mind grew from there. Like I got to know all these other styles can also bring so much color to my dance and so much flavor to our choreography
And you
everything.
took all of that to your crew.
Yeah. I mean, there were already people who already were doing it, but some like it was not of that
Magnitude, right?
magnitude. Yeah. So that I got to teach them some. Then we did a very amazing thing. We got him to Kolkata, and then he taught everybody.
The entire crew.
The entire crew, yeah. I mean, we had a
Seminar
workshop
sort
over
of a
here.
thing.
We had a workshop over here. We got people, everybody in Kolkata started learning from him, and it was amazing. Like from a place where nobody knew anything, in a matter of a year or two, everybody knew everything. Like,
Oh wow! I mean, you guys revolutionized it, right?
I will not say revolutionized it, but yeah, we kind of
Made mainstream, maybe a little more mainstream.
not even. I mean, mainstream in the sense we actually set a standard. Ki,
Okay, you raised the bar.
Like you have to know these things to be called a freestyle dancer, or you to be called a b-boy or a popper or a freestyle dancer. You have to know these things. You have to you have to be in that level.
Okay.
And since then, the all these competitions started happening, and people were like, just share this, share that. There were other people who started learning also side by side, and then they shared. So it became a like that is why Kolkata was very united in that way. We all liked to share with each other, and
there was competition, but there was a friendliness.
friendliness. Yeah, I mean there were competitions which stuck for a long time, but even if you have a rival, you have a like for
Respect.
us, you have a respect. Like yeah, you are good in that. I will never deny you that.
But then, do you chill with your rivals? Sometimes maybe you go party.
I have no rivals now. I am that age.
You overpowered everybody.
I am in that age. Like I do not. Like for me right now, I have no need of rivals.
Okay, I mean rivals of your crew maybe, not your personally, but rivals of your crew.
I mean, yeah, could be. Yeah, there could.
Do you chill with them?
No.
Okay, I mean it's still intense. Unless you grab a beer with your rival, I think that is what I believe. There's still rivalry, which is good.
Yeah,
which is good.
If I
I'm
say
not
it honestly,
judging
like
or-
there are still certain people if who are whom I could have become friends with or whom I had beefs with, we still don't see eye to eye. Like literally eye to eye.
Wow, intense.
Like suppose if we come in front of each other, we'll just walk through each other.
Oh God, intense. No, I don't have friends like that.
How did you start? I mean, how did you start the whole podcast?
Podcast, yeah. I listen to podcast a lot, right? I listen to podcast, and I mean, I'm full-time working in a fintech company. I'll name that to you later.
Okay.
So yeah, so I thought during this time, during the COVID time and all, I was listening so much of podcasts. I thought, yeah, why don't I create one of my own? I mean, I have got friends. I think friends who can help me. I know a bunch of people who have really interesting stories to tell, and people like you who have created something, who have their own art form to talk about. So I can give so much to maybe people who would be willing to listen to me, right? So that is how I came up with the idea. I recorded a bunch of audio podcasts with my friends, and I liked it. To be very honest, I don't know. I didn't put it out anywhere, but I liked it, and yeah, I think this is my 5th or 6th episode, though nothing is on air, and I'm not very sure which one is going to go out first. But so far, touch wood, it is going well. Let's see.
It's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, something's gotta start from somewhere.
Something's gonna start from somewhere, and I think it's also important that at the end of the day, everybody's working, everybody's going to have a house, a car, and everything. But I think it is also important to build something of your own. Have something when everything else just goes away. Something you have made, something you have built. It might not give you a lot of money. It might not give you no money. but it's just theirs. You built it, you kept it, and it's yours.
Absolutely.
You
absolutely.
do whatever you want to do with it.
Absolutely.
So
I think that is the whole reason there are artists as such. I mean, even you're an artist as such.
Oh, well, I don't
if
know
you,
about that, but
like,
yeah.
the whole idea is to leave a legacy behind.
No, I think what really interests me or excites me to do is, I think there are so many people like people like you who have been doing so well, and you have got immense amount of experience into this. You're doing this for so many years, but I mean, if there's not a platform and people might want to listen to your story, because I myself am interested to know what hip hop is, how this started, what battles look like, and everything. So somebody has to put it out,
That's very true.
yeah. So I mean, why not me? Why don't I help people know these things? So that's how it all started. So let's talk about battles. What is a battle? How is it? How exciting is it? And what was your first battle experience like?
So the whole idea of battle basically started back in when the whole culture of hip hop started. Back in, you can say, mid 70s and all, where the situation with African Americans and like Latinos were very like bad in their cities. So basically, all of the whole thing starts from Bronx.
Okay, Bronx.
And Bronx in New York is one of the most dangerous,
even to this day.
Even to this day, it's one of the most dangerous places to go. So in those places, what happened was there were so many gangs, there was so much violence and death happening, and these deaths were happening not just with older kids, older people, but with kids like 13, 12.
And what sort of crime are we talking about?
They used to just go mug people, they used to stab people for money, they used to just shoot because they did not like someone looking at them in a certain way.
Okay.
Maybe if you are just wearing certain shoes, they just go shoot you and just steal your shoes.
They don't like the shoes. Oh, they like the shoes.
They like the shoes.
Okay.
So, I mean, if there are a lot of things. For that, I had to actually understand, because I got to see a lot of movies, and I back then obviously I did not understand what was actually the scenario. But when I got to see the certain movies and certain documentaries I saw.
Yeah, even I saw this one documentary. I think there's this particular lane in Bronx, the 26th lane or I might be very, very wrong, the 6th lane or something. And that is just tremendous. I mean, some places you can't go after sunset, but that particular lane, even in broad daylight, you should not go. Just straight up avoid. So...
Yeah, I mean, I think there are still so many.
Yeah, that's a very recent documentary I saw. Very, very recent. I think 2020. This is 2023, right? Last year I saw.
Wow. I mean, like, that is the reason. That is the whole reason why hip hop culture became so widespread with these communities, because they wanted an outlet so that they don't use that energy
to violence, to use that to create art.
To do drugs or to create violence or just to create chaos in their communities. So what they did, one of these dudes, his name is Africa Bambata. What he did was he built this whole idea that if suppose there's already art going on right now, like the kind of art that was going around back then, the graffitis on the walls and everything. There's already a certain way of art going around. There's already a certain way of music going around. Why don't we all bring this together? Get everybody together. Tell your kids, put your stuff over there, so that the energy that you use to do all these things, you will use that energy into these art forms, and you create that channel for yourself to get to a better situation than you're right now.
Okay.
So obviously, if you practice breaking every day, and if you're that tired, you would not
want to mug somebody or
go out somebody, or just do drugs or do anything like that, because you need that much strength. It'll tire you. So you need that much strength. You need that much things, and these are something that really connected with me, because obviously, coming from the metal background, you like certain things. You're like, metal is this, metal is that, metal is having a beer and just going crazy and stuff. So I mean, from then I got to when I got into hip hop, I was like, no, I would probably want to not do all these things, get into a better place, get into a better things mentally, and stop. They just fucking up my body.
Wow, interesting.
And the day I understood that, the day I kind of left all the other bad habits as such. Not some of them, but most of them.
No. I think we'll go there. We'll for sure go there. I
Let's
mean,
not.
okay. So we'll talk about the battles. What battles essentially are, and what was your first battle like?
So when all these things happened, so what they did was they took all that energy and were like, you use that on
the streets.
on the floor.
Okay.
You use that on the dance floor. You create certain ways so that you do not have to actually shoot, but you can actually imitate that you're holding a gun and you're shooting someone.
Oh.
So that was the idea, that you take all of these energy, you take all of this way of
willingness to kill, and you
willingness
just
to kill,
face
and you
each
just
other off.
channelize that into a different way. And hence came the idea of battle. It is obviously, if you want to hit someone, you will hit someone. You will not go in front of them and then say, I'm challenging you to dance battle. But yeah, I mean, in certain ways, I mean, people actually did. And that changed a lot of perspective for people. That gave rise to this whole idea that, yeah, you can channelize into all these energies and not channelize into something else. So hence came the idea of the battles, but obviously not the battles that we have today. Once that is like the
raw version. So I
of
think
things.
when people were battling, so was that between friends, or was that between different gangs?
Okay, that's an amazing question, because it actually is kind of like a gang thing.
Exactly, that is what I asked.
A crew is like a gang thing.
Now I understand. Yeah.
Because you will hear someone that, oh, you heard about this dude. His style is crazy. He's killing it down over there. He's like, is he that crazy that he can beat me? I'll go check him out. And that's how the battle things. That is what they say, that is how it happened. But I mean, I'm sure there are like versions of this that probably went down.
Yeah, even hip hop and gang culture is very common. Tupac Shakur and Biggie, right? It's crazy. I mean,
the idea that hip hop and Tupac and Biggie is actually a very different thing.
You want to share the story?
Hip hop is different, and rap culture is different.
Okay, interesting. How come? I mean, hip
hop has, like, obviously I will not deny the fact that Tupac and Biggie is hip hop, but they don't fall into the hip hop culture wise.
How? As in
they?
How are they different?
Because
what is hip hop
Biggie Smalls was a crack dealer.
Yeah. Okay, like that.
And after that, it's great that he channelized his
energy
into rapping, and he did that thing. That is when he started having this whole hip hop culture thing inside him. But the things that he was saying, a lot of it was actually which would be told as would be hip hop music wise.
What does hip hop speak of, and what was Biggie not covering?
Basically, like, there are certain songs that will obviously be like, party this, party that. That you can say is a part of hip hop, but then the speaking about the what is happening down actually in their communities. The speaking about the peace, speaking about the just another story. That is kind of a way you can say what hip hop became.
Okay.
It wasn't what it was before. Hip hop was just like, ranting things out and just expressing whatever you wanted to express. LL Cool J was like, he's hip hop, but then he never said things like that. It was after the Marley Marl and all the Sugar Hill Gang and everything, all these crews which started making good music, and the music that would change the whole idea about what rap music can sound like. And because of that, you can say hip hop music also changed. And since that all of these things happened, there are still people who would say that true hip hop music is not just rap music. True hip hop music is if you actually is about the community and is about peace and love and just sharing.
And can you name a few artists who are actually doing it even to this date?
Very less. I don't think there are people who are doing it. Probably.
But if you want to recommend any to me or maybe to the listeners.
I think the most hip hop people, basically what is right now, J. Cole is very hip hop as such.
Okay.
But the kind of music J. Cole and Kendrick and all these people do, that's trap music.
Okay.
And trap has a different culture of its own.
That's again another story. Yeah.
So the true hip hop music that we dance to and that actually became hip hop music was the 90s era. So you can say the Tribe Called Quest, Fushnikins, and like hell lot of rappers and people back then. They created certain wave of music which became hip hop.
Let us know in the comments down below if you listen to any hip hop artists in particular, if you want me to check out any. So do let us know. So yeah, so now let's go to your first battle. What was it like?
Wow, I don't even remember what my first battle was. Okay, my first battle was in 2010, I guess.
Okay.
Like maybe not. My first official battle.
You were with Kommotion?
I was with a different crew.
Okay.
And we actually got, I think, as far as I remember, back then the dance battles that used to happen, it is not what happens right now. So back then it was like my whole crew against your crew.
Okay. I mean, everybody is dancing. If 10 people are there, all of them are on the floor. 10 people from my gang.
No, there will be only like one people or
one person.
Like there will be like duos or trios or one solo, however that goes. But it will be my whole crew against your whole crew.
And now how does this happen?
Now it is just one-on-one. But it basically back then the whole competition thing was different.
So imagine now, I have my own crew. You are of course with CCAN, right? So we try to do a battle, right? So if I want to compete and you want to compete, is just me and you who are going to come to the event, or my entire crew is going to come? Your entire crew is going to come?
But it's just basically right now what happens is battles happen on categories. So back then there was no categories. It was just you give a throwdown. It's like all set.
And who's there to decide? Who's the judge?
There used to be judges people back then. There used to be, you can say there used to be certain elder dancers from the
community,
from the Kolkata dance community that used to do. Obviously, they never danced hip hop themselves, but
how did they judge them?
They just because they could, because people kept them. People kept them, and I will
they
not
talk the talk basically.
I will not deny the fact that like they were not hip hop, but I'm sure they did have an idea of what hip hop could be or what it could look like.
Okay.
But mainly they just judged on someone's musicality or someone's way of moving, how they are moving, but not the way we are judging right now, or people are judging right now in India.
It's more exhaustive right
it's
now.
It's more
to the point.
And it's more, you can say, elaborated on different structures.
You know which all boxes to score on, which all boxes to take. Okay. And it has a structured way of moving the points. Alright.
So battles became on categories later on. So from crew on crew battles, it became solo battles and more. And that feeling was different.
Okay.
So when I started doing solo battles, it's
just you by yourself going to the venue and doing
my whole crew came. I probably competed against my crew mates also, but it wasn't like my whole team against your whole team. So that culture is kind of missing right now.
Which was more fun. I think the crew versus crew was more fun. I think that is what I feel.
Both are fun. For me, both are fun because crew versus crew, it's obviously very heated down.
Are there fights? I mean, because why I'll say is
That massive fight.
Why I'll say is because I think I saw a lot of YouTube videos, and I think I saw a bunch of videos of your crew as well, and I see people coming this close to my face, and I'm somewhat trained in combat sports. I love. I mean I belong from that culture. So from where I come from, somebody comes this close to me. That means you're asking me to
Hit you down.
Yeah. So are there fights? Is there a ruckus? Massive fights.
Massive.
Have you been there? Have you experienced or watched? Is there a story?
Actually, there are so many stories that I shouldn't even say right now.
No, you can. I mean, unless you get into trouble. So
No, I will not get into trouble. Obviously, who's gonna hit me? Look at me. So back then, there is a very famous video of ours, which actually kind of, I wouldn't say gone viral, but there are so many people who still till date they come and tell me.
Ralph Mao, was he in you?
Like literally fights. There was this one battle I remember to make us reach a reputation, because reality shows is basically just for the crowd. Think of your delicacies and those kind of stuff. So in Malaysia, I was fortunate enough to have